Hey guys, so here bringing you another video. Now welcome to another one of these dev updates. So you guys have been really enjoying me doing them recently. So we're going to try and get through this quite fast. I have had a read through it myself just so I understand kind of what they're talking about. And we're not going to go through everything. But recently, the game, at least to me, has not felt incredibly healthy in terms of balance. There's a lot of champions that just seem way too strong. And I've been questioning, how are these champions not getting nerfed? I think a lot of us have. And, you know, there's the Echo, the Silas, the Kassadin. They're still floating around and they're like, damn, these champions are strong. Well, turns out, in the last year, apparently, maybe I missed this because I do not remember. They did an update and said, this is how moving forward we're going to start balancing things. And I'm going to be honest, the last year has felt really unbalanced. But generally, League is a weird game. With how many champions there are, how many items there are, there's always a state of like something's broken. Because when you change one thing, it's going to have a counter effect on others. But honestly, this last year, I haven't felt the game is truly balanced. Where Riot is basically expressing here, this is how we now balance stuff. So I thought we'd kind of go over it, see what you guys think, see what I think. And basically what they did, and we're not going to talk about this too much because this is the old system that they implemented a year ago. So a year ago, what they did was split the player base in 4 different groups. So you had the average player, which was Iron to Gold 1. The skilled players, which was Plat to Grandmaster, Elite was just Challenger, and Pro was the top 5 Pro regions. And then what they would basically do is if a champion is overpowered, they had it in these parameters on each of these groups. If a champion is underpowered, they had obviously again these parameters. For a champion, and I believe if I don't want to get this wrong. For a champ, here we go. So if a champion is overperforming in any of the 4 groups, they need nerfs. And if a champion is underperforming in all 4, it needs buffs. So just to make that point clear, if a champion is doing fine in pro play, fine in challenger, fine in skilled, but is overpowered in average, it will have a nerf. Other way around though, is if it's overpowered in, or if it's strong and doing well in average, but then underpowered, it will not get a nerf. Or, you know, basically for something to get a buff, it needs to be underperforming in all 4 categories. And for it to get a nerf, it just needs to be overperforming in 1. So that's why sometimes you see, why is that getting banned? It's not a big deal in solo queue, it's a pro ban. And considering the way that League of Legends works, we share basically the same client. In essence, whatever the pros are playing on is what we play on. They don't separate the two. It's not like, oh, we're doing pro stats and then regular solo queue stuff. They could do that, I guess, but it just makes it easier not to. So that's why occasionally you do see nerfs on champions that might be, to some people, questionable. A great example I've always given is Azir. Azir got nerfed when he had a 44% win rate. So a lot of people would look at this and go, oh, look, overpowered. How, you know, he doesn't hit the bracket here, you know, for overpowered in skilled play is 54 to 52% win rate. He got nerfed at 44. It's because in pro play at the time, he was unstoppable, so they nerfed Azir as a whole. So that's kind of it. We're not going to go over this too much more because luckily I did read ahead because they have updated this to more modern day. One thing I do maybe vaguely remember is I remember thinking this was way too big of a category to balance a skilled player group. Platinum 4 to Grandmaster, the difference there is night and day. Like there is insane skill difference between those 2 player types or player ranks. So yeah, that might have been a bit too crazy to put those 2 together. So one thing they're going to be also doing moving forward is in patch notes. Sometimes a lot of us are like, why is that getting changed? Or what's that? Is a robot just made that up or whatever? It sometimes does feel like it. But what they're going to be doing is in patch notes, here's a good example, is giving us primary reasons in their brand, you know, in the balance framework, why something is changing. So you can see here, again, they're using Cho'Gath, I guess, as an example. Now, one thing I will say is it's color-coded. I'm colorblind, so making it color-coded is maybe the not best idea because I'm going to be honest, I'm looking at this now and I'm kind of like, I don't really see what's changed. I can't really tell if I'm honest, but I'm sure there is something. But you can see the key is over here, so you've got jungle, top, and all the different roles, and then they're saying it got nerfed or buff, I guess, because of this certain play group. this player group that they've got. Again, not the most useful for me with my eyes, so hopefully moving forward they may make that even better visible for people like me. But it's good that they are showing in their patch notes moving forward, this is why it's changing, not just kind of like, it's changing, the end. So that's good. So here is the adjustments, and this is where we now can go more in depth. So there was no point talking about the framework a year ago when they've now changed it. So it's still average, it's still Iron to Gold 1 players in terms of balancing for that play group, but the win rate has changed. It's now a 54% win rate to a 52.5. Now, we will talk about win rate in a second, by the way. Don't worry, I'm sure people have been waiting for me to say it. The underpowered is still a bad win rate, under 49. Skilled and elite is where they've mixed things up, which I'm like, thank God. So the skilled play group is now Plat 4 to Diamond 3, and elite is now Diamond 2 to Challenger. Now, if you've been around the channel for quite a while, you will know of a saying that I've always said about a certain rank, and that certain rank is Diamond 2. I have always said the game starts to feel different in Diamond 2. It just does. Like, for some reason, I don't know why, it just feels different. I think it's because you're getting in such a tiny percentage of player that in Diamond 2, well, obviously, yeah, you've got Diamond 1s and Diamond 2 players mixed together, but then you also start getting the Masters, the Grandmasters, and very even occasionally Grandmasters, and you're just in Diamond 2. It's because there's so little players in that bracket, you start getting mixed in with these crazy good players, and that's why now Diamond 2 is considered in Elite, which I 100% agree with. You know, my main account at the moment is in Mid Diamond 3, which technically that would put me right at the top end of Skilled. Hopefully in the not long future, when I do get back on the main account properly, I'll get in this elite bracket again. And yeah, that does make sense to me. So how they're kind of forming, you know, what's overpowered, what's underpowered. So 49% win rate for both of these is underpowered. Then it's 54% win rate, 52.5 for average, and then here 53.5. So they're narrowing the brand of it being overpowered. Which is good, or anything above that, obviously. In Elite, so they're changing it slightly. In Elite before, they only had a ban rate. And ban rate, I've always said, ban rate is a bigger indicator on what's strong than win rate. We'll say that why in a second. But they've still got ban rate. That's still there, but now they have implemented win rate as well. And then for pro regions, they've actually ditched one pro region. It used to be the top 5 pro regions. It's now it's the top 4 pro regions. So that's interesting. But they've also added, like, you know, pick and ban presence for events. So if a champion legitimately, and every pro team knows we have to get this champion or it has to be banned, well, clearly that is a problematic champion. And then for underpowered in Skilled, if it has less than a 7.5% pick ban presence. So for example, I could probably estimate that Yorick, quite a few champions actually, probably have under a 7.5% pick ban in this bracket of play. Because in the higher rating you go, you have 2 main types of players. Meta players or main/one tricks. Meta players will just play what's simply strong. They'll move around whatever's strong. When buffs and nerfs happen, they'll just constantly move their champion pool. That is probably the majority of players in Elite and Pro play. Definitely Pro play, obviously. But the one tricks, they will just stick on their champions, but there's not that many of them the higher rating you go. And I know some people are like, really? For the more niche champions, like, yeah, you'll see probably a lot of Yasuo's, a lot of Katarinas, the typical solo queues. But how many Yorick one tricks do you see in Challenger? There may be 1, maybe 2. There's not many, so they're not going to be kind of aiding to this high pick ban presence. Therefore, it probably needs buffs. In essence, that's what they're kind of going with, and then 5% pick ban presence for pro play. So what do I think about this overall? I think it's better the bracketing, so that's something worth noting. But I do have an issue with overall win rate as the indicator of balance. I've always said you've got to be very careful with overall win rate, because overall win rate, it means everything in what you're putting into it. What I mean by that is overall win rate includes a guy that's played the champion 1,000 times, but it also includes the guy that's played it the first time or the second time, who's bad with the champion, who doesn't know anything about the champion. That is all included with overall win rate, especially in this bracket. But in even the higher ratings, if you watch my main accounts, my 3 ranked accounts that we've got at the moment are all basically Diamond MMR. The Duo series is basically Diamond 2 MMR. My main account's got Diamond 2/3 MMR, and the Iron 2 Master Smurf has got Diamond 3, Diamond 4 MMR. So all mid Diamond MMR. You see all the time people that have not played these champions. They're just randomly picking them. Well, they'll be aiding to overall win rate. Every time that they just pick a random champion, which happens a lot, and I'm sure you guys in your own solo queue games experience that too, that goes to overall win rate. So how is that a good indicator of something strong or weak? Surely the way that I would want overall win rate to actually be a factor is you should balance it to players that actually know what they're doing. What I mean by that is maybe look at overall win rate only for players that have played minimum 10 games of the champion or something like that. That would get rid of the randomness of randomly people picking up a champion or playing it just here or there. It would basically mean, the people that actually play this champion, they have a 56% win rate and they play this champion actively. Maybe the champion's a bit too strong. That would be a better indicator, I believe. Maybe, give your opinions down below. And again, worth noting, Riot has been so much better with communicating. These dev vlogs are happening all the time. They might be in this video. They might be in the comments. So it is worth expressing your opinion about this too. I much prefer ban rate. That is why if you're looking at Elite and Pro Play, that is why they use ban rate, the higher rating you go, because Riot also knows ban rate is a better indicator on what's strong. The players that have knowledge in the game, who knows what's good, who knows what's weak, they don't want really overpowered champions in their games. Therefore, they will just ban it all the time. That's, in essence, a better indicator, clearly. So there's that. Moving forward, though, so they're just explaining what they've done. And this is something that is also very interesting. They have targets that I think it's going to be, I'm going to say it's difficult, but then I saw what their current statistics. Riot's aim, like for any game company who, it doesn't have to be a MOBA-like league that has 148 characters, I think. It could be Call of Duty. Call of Duty's got guns. Trust me, the people at Call of Duty don't want everybody to be using the Grow in Warzone, but everybody does. The ideal situation is all the guns are viable, therefore the most amount of skins for those guns will sell. It's the same with League of Legends. The more champions you got viable, the more champions people will play, therefore the more skins people want to buy for all the champions. It's the same principle. So here's their aims. So for all play, they want 99% of champions viable to play. That are it doesn't feel bad to play. And all play would by the way include normals, flex, ARAMs, all of that. That's all of League of Legends. For solo queue, they're wanting 95% of champions to be viable to play in solo queue, which still means 5% of the champions not really worth playing, which I think that's okay. Average play, they want 80% of the champions to have above a 48.5% win rate. It would be interesting, what is that now? I actually don't know. I think maybe they might say, we'll see. Skilled play, they want 80% of champions to have, again, a 48.5% win rate. And elite play, they want 45% champions with less than a 7.5 pick ban. So there's not just the same champions getting banned over and over and over again, and there's a big diversity in the champion pool. I doubt that will ever happen because good players are naturally just going to go to what is strong, and the same with pro play. They're naturally going to go to what's strong. It's the same principle of, when Riot is always trying to do, here's new runes and masteries, it gives the power to the player base. There's always the ones that people always go with because they're just stronger. It's just naturally going to happen. So this is, by the way, what it is at the moment. So this is where we're currently at for patch 10.12. For these things, for average play, they are currently at 80%. Now, is this for what they've actually said? A champion is considered part of a viable pool if they're performing above the underpowered metric for that group. For pro play in particular, that means one-off picks and bans are not counted. So the total number of champions present in, say, Worlds will be higher than what we're defining here in the viable pool. All right, so currently, 81% of champions, I guess, are viable in average play. 87% are viable in skilled. 30% in elite. 36% in pro play. 93% in solo queue overall, and 98% overall. So what they're saying is that they've already achieved their goal, if I haven't got this wrong, if they've already achieved their goal in average play, skilled play, and that's it. So they're off by quite a bit in elite. They're off quite a bit in pro play. The elite actually is the biggest one that they're a bit down on. Solo queue, they're close overall, and then all they're 1% away. So they're saying that they're not that far away, which is interesting. And then conclusion, results from our first year of using the champion balance framework have been promising. Numerically speaking, we're in a more balanced place. Champions more are rarely sit unchecked as outliers than ever. So I will say, as I said at the beginning of this video, I personally haven't felt that League of Legends has been that balanced recently. But the reason why is because these champions like Echo, Sylas, Kassadin, etc., the reason why they're not getting nerfed, they just don't hit these thresholds. It basically is, in a weird way, like a robot that's doing the balancing now, because if this certain champion doesn't hit this numeric, even though it feels really unhealthy to play against, it's not getting changed. And that's, I think, the problem, is I do think there needs to be a bit more human kind of stuff in the balance team. I don't want it all to be numeric and all this stuff, because surely the balance team who plays League, they don't feel great when they're playing against an Echo or Sylas. And obviously, yeah, they're not impossible to beat. They're just unhealthy to play against in certain areas of the game, like lane phase, for example. So it'd be nice if Riot kind of toned that down or just work towards making that area a bit more balanced. But I did see something very interesting that I think we've missed somewhere. In essence... here we go. This is actually something that might fix the problem that I just spoke about. We've also added a new safeguard to our patch process, where if a trend towards too many buffs are happening, we will, in that case, basically they're going to look to nerf things. If like, oh guys, we're buffing that, oh god, we haven't got many nerfs, maybe we should just throw a couple nerfs out. What do we nerf? Which I actually think this is a good idea. What they're going to be doing is, if they're finding that they're buffing too much, they're going to look at the top presence champion in each position in pro play and look to maybe nerf that. So it's not a guarantee, but it's basically like, guys, oh, we need to, we've got way too many buffs. What's strong in pro play right now? Okay. Yumi, blah, blah, this, that. We're going to nerf them because of that. And secondly, the top performing champion, highest win rate and ban rate combination in each position in skilled play. Remember, skilled play is this one, Platinum 4 to Diamond 3. So it's a good range of solo queue. It's got a decent amount of players in it. It's like 10% of the player base, but they are also good players. So I think that's a really good idea. And worth noting, these new rules, these are the rules that actually led to Ornn, Kalista, Trundle, Janna, and Aphelios nerfs, even though these champions did not fit in their criteria here. So that does show this is a good change. This is really healthy. And by the way, this is the type of change that might actually catch Echo, Sylas, Kassadin eventually. Because, yeah, I don't think they're ever going to get in these brackets, even though they are kind of unhealthy. But that's interesting. I think that's a really good thing moving forward. That in my mind, so I did say I don't like how numeric everything's becoming. Oh, it hits this, percentage win rate and then boom, it gets a nerf, or boom, it gets a buff. It's a bit robot-y. I kind of like the human aspect of things. Well, this adds a bit more human aspect, because this will be Rioters looking at the pro play, looking at solo queue and all this type of thing, and then actively, working to making it healthier as humans. So I think that's good. So combining these two things together, I think, does make for a healthy situation. Again, I don't think solo queue is incredibly healthy right now, but that's just me. But there's that. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this little dive into how Riot basically are balancing things, the 4 different player groups, etc. Let me know what you think. I think it definitely has promise to it, but I think it's just risky. I think it's risky just going with a pure numeric thing, because, it's both good and bad, is what I'd say. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. Like the video, comment down below. See you guys next time. Peace.